Hello, and welcome to the Freedom Challenge online podcast. Here at the Freedom Challenge, we strive to do good by helping enslaved women and children to do more than you ever thought physically possible, and to do it together by connecting women with a heart for a hurting world. We hope you enjoy your time being informed and encouraged with host Tracy Daugherty and our amazing guests. So let's get ready and join Tracy for this week's episode.
Hello, everyone. This is your host, Tracy Daugherty. And we just got back from the Adirondack Challenge, and I am feeling sentimental and thankful. Why sentimental, you might ask? Because I live in California and I don't get to see fall leaves and feel the crisp air, but it was remarkable. But before we dive into that, I want to remind you, what is Freedom Challenge? The Freedom Challenge is a movement of passionate women who participate in physical challenges that test our limits, and this one sure did, while raising funds and awareness that disrupt the cycles of oppression and poverty that often result in human trafficking. The Adirondack Challenge was exactly that, a movement. We had around 30 women who gathered from all over the world, and I am saying all over the world, Moldova, Malaysia, lots of different places in the US. Some of us focused on prayer, some of us challenged our bodies, but collectively we all focused on the thought of seeing more women and children set on a pathway to freedom. Today, we get the pleasure of talking to our guides and our Sherpas. They were both. And it was a joy to have them with us. They are dear friends to us, Freedom Sisters. And actually, I would say they are Freedom Sisters. Some of you may remember Jane from the John Muir Trail or Mount Rainier. And we are now meeting Rachel, who is, man, what a gal. You'll hear in just a moment. So would you ladies introduce yourself, where you're calling from in, a little bit about your life, and maybe a favorite memory from this challenge that we just got back from, even just, what was it, 3 days ago, 4 days ago, something like that.
My name is Jane Mosakowski. This is my third Freedom Challenge event to be a part of, and it just never disappoints, is what I can say. I always walk away so blessed and grateful for the time. And that was so true of the Adirondack Challenge as well. But I have experience in guiding courses and trips from students, teenagers, adults, all over the country. And when I'm not doing that, I'm a teacher and a high school basketball coach. And so, so the idea of going on a challenge with passionate women who just want to get out there and get after it, I am all in. So this was an easy yes for me, and was just so grateful for the opportunity to be a part of it. And I have to say that I think one of the top memories for me would go back to the day 3. So our final hike, our summit, peak day opportunities. And my group, we had a challenging hike ahead of us, and they knew the night before, because we challenged them to an alpine start of waking up at 4 a.m., leaving the Camp of the Woods at 5 a.m. to drive out to our hike of the day, which was one of the most iconic hikes in the Adirondacks. And it was called the Big Slide Mountain Loop. And as we're approaching the trailhead and getting there, and it's cold and it's crisp, and we're all bundled up in our long pants and our puffies, and it's not even quite full daylight yet. You can tell the anticipation, the excitement is there, but also the unknown. We just don't know what's to come. And really, as we hiked along this trail, the weaving in and out of the forest, the rock edge cliffs that looked over into the valley, the crisp air, the beautiful sun, the challenging and steep rocky terrain, scrambling up boulders. I mean, wow, this was an epic and fun hike. And then once we get to the top, it was just seeing the joy and the on these ladies' faces for not only reaching the top and looking out at some of the greatest and highest peaks in the Adirondack area, but really just the fact that we were able to overcome a lot of challenges and to do it together. And it really was, for me, just a fun, memorable moment to see all of us at the top of this mountain. But at the end of the day, it was the journey to get there and the fact that we did it together that is probably the biggest memory for me. And yeah, and it's always fun to do things together, and we did. And so yeah, so I was just really proud to be a part of that, and proud of those women. And yeah, just it was a really special time, and I'm grateful.
Jane, I feel like I just stepped into your hike. You did so good at describing the picturesque, all the different descriptors. And it really was just like that. It really was. The roots, the step ups. You brought me in and you brought me back. So
Great.
it's good. And, before Rachel introduces herself and her memory, I will say I appreciate you bringing to mind the women, because something I too really love about the Freedom Challenge is it's not static. It is a movement. There's women coming in, gaining strength, and moving things forward. So those descriptors as well, I really appreciate. All right, Rachel, where are you calling from? Give us a little bit about you and a favorite memory.
My name is Rachel. I live just south of Nashville, Tennessee, currently. Have sort of lived all over the country at different points. So yeah, back where I have some roots with some family now. This was my first challenge, and it was such an honor. I've heard about Freedom Challenge for a long, long time. Most of my guiding experience has been with Solid Rock Outdoor. So I have worked closely with Daria in the past and Jane as well. And yeah, Strom has worked closely with Freedom Challenge in the past as well. So I've heard the stories, and yeah, I've wanted to be a part for a long time, and finally the opportunity arose and I could not pass it up. So was super thankful to be a part of what happened in New York the last week. Yeah, I'm married and have a little 3-year-old guy. His name is Rowan, and we've got a baby girl on the way. So that's kind of where my life is right now. I'm currently outside of guiding, which I'm not doing super frequently these days. I'm a full-time mom, and that is a blessing. Yeah.
Well, something that I do need to say about you that's extraordinary that will lead us into this next question is that you are pregnant with a little girl and due in December. So
Yes.
everyone listening, this woman was, I don't know how she did it, complaint free, rocking it, just like a little mountain goat up in front of us, owning, her body, just, it was pretty remarkable. So I am so impressed. You knew when to press forward, you knew when to pull back, and you were very tuned to yourself, but also to the women. And I really appreciated that. You had a real keen sense of what was too much and for you and for others, and what was, hey, you got a little bit more in you. And I saw you do that with so much ease. And I really appreciated that. And
Yeah,
yes,
that's so kind of you to say. I definitely, struggled physically more on this challenge than I would have liked. But pregnancy just pushes you to your limits.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, you gotta kind of know where you can push and where you need to pull back, and be okay with those things. But that's a challenge for me, for sure.
Yeah, it's funny how all the challenges show up in so many different ways. And we're going to talk about what those challenges look like and how I observe how comfortable both of you are with challenges, which is why we invite these Solid Rock women and all of the affiliates now to come and join us, because there's so much we learn from pressing through a challenge. But again, it may be the woman who's like, I don't think I can do it. I'm afraid to scramble up that mountain, which we had some of that. It could be you going, it's okay, Rachel, to pull yourself back and be present with the limits you have. And they show up in so many different ways, which is a beautiful part of the togetherness. So, our motto is do good, which is centered in biblical justice. Do more than you ever thought physically possible, which many did on this trip, and then do it together. That connection part, that sisterhood. But share with us your perspective on, this do more than you ever thought physically possible. Why is it important to challenge ourselves? And often, why are we, in your opinion, so resistant to challenges as human beings? What have you seen?
In thinking about challenging myself, I feel like so much of our culture is just preaching at us to like seek comfort and to seek the fastest way out of discomfort or pain, um, the quickest escape, if you will. Like, how can I push through this? How can I get over this? How can I be done with this as fast as possible? And that is not um, the life I feel that God has called us to. He talks specifically in scripture about how suffering is for our good and we should rejoice in it because it is changing us and growing us. And also, the life that Jesus modeled was one of getting dirty and being uncomfortable and laying down his comfort for others and being interrupted frequently. And so I feel like Freedom Challenge is just a great way, like a great tangible way for us to do the same, to like interrupt our busy lives and step outside of ourselves and, um, yeah, laying down our physical comfort in a way in hopes that we can bring freedom to others. Um, so yeah, and then also struggle is just oftentimes where we meet God most um, in a most real way, and oftentimes in ways that we've never met him before. And so I think he is like so ever present in our struggles. Um, and that's a way that he reveals himself to us.
That is really remarkable. And before you share, I just wanted to just highlight something you said that hit me, is how Jesus modeled it. And if you think about the very fact that Jesus took off the robes of heaven, as scripture says, and descended into a physical body to walk out an embodied experience, which included disappointment, suffering, all of those things, but he chose it. It didn't happen to him. Even on the cross, he was like, no, I'm giving up my spirit. Life isn't happening to me. And there's something interconnected, as you just alluded to, with all of those points of us having a real opportunity together to do that kind of movement where we would feel the physical suffering and have the emotional pieces in that, thinking about the incarnation of Jesus.
Well said, Rachel and Tracy, and 100% agree with both of you and those thoughts, and appreciate you ladies sharing that. I think one thing that always stands out to me, because I, as a guy, but also as a coach, I get asked this a lot. Why do we want to make this so hard? Why should I challenge myself? And to me, one of the biggest things about challenges, that's the most opportunity for growth as an individual, but growth as a team, growth as a unit, growth in community. And, so why is growth important? Whether it's a physical challenge, a mental challenge, emotional challenge, like why is that important? I think it's important because all those experiences, the good, the hard, the easy, the fun, the difficult, the maybe the laughs and the tears and the hard things, it's all plays into a part of who we are becoming. And who we are becoming matters, because I know one thing: if I'm being super challenged and I'm pushed beyond my limits, and if I can look at it from the perspective of this is helping me grow, this is helping me become someone better, I feel like it's part of a bigger story, a bigger purpose. It's part of entering into God's story and how he wants to use our challenges and how we learn to persevere and to overcome and to lean on one another and to feel that support and to ultimately connect with him. I believe he invites us to enter into that. And as you said, Jesus modeled that himself, going into the wilderness, getting away, challenges beyond just our physical challenges that we cannot even fathom. And yet it was all in to honor God and to be a part of a much bigger story. Even in the moment, if we can't really see, God, I don't understand why I'm going through this. I don't really understand what's happening. I don't know how this fits into your story at this point, but God does. And he sees us and he sees who we're becoming. He sees our growth. And to me, that helps make more meaning and really more life-giving opportunities moving forward.
And, Jane, you and I had a really great conversation on the drive to the airport about basketball and being a coach, which, there's a lot of parallels to what we had just done in how challenging it is interacting with these young women who want to excel. Some want to be pushed. Some, just think it's going to happen for them. But the opportunity to be in a sisterhood to maybe spur one another on or slow down, even if we didn't want to. We wanted to move ahead, but we slowed down to bring our encouragement to others. There's so much of that in these embodied experience, whether it's in the outdoor, whether it's a basketball team. And I think it's important to our development, not only as young people, which you work with high school students, but also women that are grown that could get, kind of stymied or stuck or crystallized in the middle of life, no longer thinking developmentally, but just, here I am and it's done. So these opportunities really spur that on. And it leads me to think a lot about, we are Trinitarian beings, spirit, soul, body. And we were made by a Trinitarian God, Father, Son, Holy Spirit. There's 3 parts to us. We can't pull these parts apart, and say, I'm just a body, or I'm just a brain, or I'm just an emotional ball of whatever. Just how we have to see Father, Son, and Holy Spirit as a unit, as the God that loves us, leads us, fights for us. So in this Freedom Challenge or things like it, where do you see the brain-body connection and the importance of it? Before I move on, I will say one last observation. I have hiked with young women who are strong in body and maybe not so developed in mind. And I have hiked with a 70-year-old woman who has endured through life and has a very strong mind, and her body is failing. And I want you to tell me who's going to make it and who's going to resiliently often be the ones that, everybody's going to grow, but what do you think happens in that? And, speak to this whole brain body connecting and accepting challenges from your side of the fence.
Yeah, I have experienced exactly what you're talking about, Tracy. Young women who are very strong and able-bodied and just don't have the experience or the the hard-fought challenges of life to give them that mental strength that yet.
Yes.
And it's always yet because, we all have those capabilities. And
That's right.
the fact that those girls are out there to begin with is amazing. And they're going to get there. They're going to gain those experiences.
Yeah.
And they're going to be like those 70-year-old women out there that are so strong mentally and so willing to push their bodies.
Yeah.
So I've walked in those experiences myself. As far as the brain body connection, I think there is so much of that connection there. Like you've got to have both. You can't just have one or the other. But in that, like doing these things in community, when you
Yes.
feel weak mentally, having these other women to to encourage you, to hold your arms up when you get tired so that you see some victory.
Yes.
I think that's what Freedom Challenge brings to these women, is they're able to do something in community that they probably wouldn't be able to do on their own.
And the multi-generational piece,
For
right?
sure.
So like going back and forth to say, I need your help, or the watching someone. I'm thinking about Brenda Gaskin. Rachel, you'll remember this, who was one of the oldest women on our trip. And she was just out front. And I think every woman in that lineup was like, okay, What do I need to hear from you? Because I'm so inspired at how you have connected both of these things in a very real way that we could see. And yeah, I love the yet, because that's all of us. If we stay in that developmental mindset where we're like, you know what? I'm going to challenge you forward, or I'm going to move myself back to stay with. It really does create sort of this transfer of into everyday life,
For sure.
that a way that we could live with each other in the activities of life. Do you have anything else to add to this, Jane?
Well, I mean, I think there's it's all about the community, and if you're one of the younger hikers or haven't lived life quite as long as some others out there, say on trail, it is inspiring to see older women pushing through their limits, or like you said, Brenda, sprinting ahead. It's like, wow, like I want to be like that when I grow up, right? And then in turn, I think it's what I've seen is the older women looking back at those younger ladies and being inspired by and reminded of maybe their energy and how they're sponges and learning all the things. So it goes hand in hand. I mean, I think about on trail, we're all human. And so we're not oblivious to aches and pains and blisters and slight physical falls with minor, maybe scrapes or a turned ankle. And I think in that moment when that's you, and I have been that in those shoes, I have been the participant that rolled an ankle, and I have been the leader that rolled an ankle in front of a group. And in that moment, it feels extremely vulnerable and you feel maybe embarrassed. But at the same time, just witnessing women come around and like just a judgment free zone, the love, the care, the support, the, how can we serve you? That mindset on trail obviously carries over to real everyday life. And if you've been in both situations as the, say, patient and also as the care provider, I just think that you naturally are learning patience, you're learning compassion, you're learning kindness, and how, again, it's an experience, say, through Freedom Challenge and maybe a physical hike, but yet you now have a better understanding and you have that experience that when you move forward into your everyday life, you're going to be able to see people and hear people and really know if you've been in their shoes before, or even if you've been in a similar situation before, to where the same skills, the same qualities, the same love, support, care, encouragement, patience that was expressed on trail 100% transfers over to those same or similar scenarios in everyday life, where you have opportunity to really just live by the fruits of the spirit and show that same love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, extend a hand to someone else. And again, it's all about who we're becoming, so that as an individual, but becoming in a community. And let's just be real. I mean, to do more than you ever thought possible, when you have community around you that you're surrounded with, that you trust and you love and you believe in, all of a sudden, what seemed impossible just truly does all of a sudden think, oh, wait, this is a real possibility. And then it can become a reality. And so I oftentimes think, if you want to go fast somewhere, go alone. But if you want to go far, go together. And that doing more than you thought possible summarizes that right there in community.
Yeah. There's something about the community aspect of people being out of their role, out of their everyday activities, where they can borrow perspectives. Oh, I see your mindset is this way. I'm going to shift into that. Or I see your strength is going this way. I'm going to be the contagion of I can do it, or let's try, becomes greater than fear, or all of those things. And the vulnerability becomes beautiful because it's an invitation to one another to serve one another and to borrow from one another's faith and strength and resilience, versus compete or steal up and not have my vulnerability shown. There's really something about that space that really does do that. I know you have a story, Rachel, of Stacy, and I am excited to hear that if you're ready to tell it.
Yeah, I
You
would
had,
love to share. As Jane was sharing, I was thinking of Stacy
uh-huh.
on the last little portion of our day 3 hike on Cascade Mountain. Um, it was not an easy hike.
Mm-mm.
Not a lot of mileage per se, but definitely a challenging uphill climb the majority of the way. So we were all feeling very tired, and yeah, we were all putting in the effort, definitely. And I had gotten a little bit behind the group, um, and as I was catching up with them, um, the last, I don't know, maybe a quarter mile of that hike is all exposed rock, what we would call like a bald on top of the mountain. So you can see the peak, it's right there. You could see all the people up there. Um, and by that point, you're like, I think I got this in me. Um, so as another hiker and I were getting to that point, we came across Stacy. Um, and she looked like she was having a great time right there at the bottom of the bald. She was talking to people, petting dogs. She looked like she was having a great time. So I'm like, Stacy, what are you doing here? Like, where's the rest of the team? She's like, oh, they went up. Um, I'm done. Like, I've reached my challenge and I feel good about it. And I was like, well, that's great. Like, I'm so glad you feel like you got where you needed to be. And um, yeah, that you felt like you met that challenge that you had set for yourself. Um, what I just began to ask her, like, what do you think it is that's kept you right here versus pushing on? And um, her answer was that she was afraid of heights, and she shared a story from a previous hike that was maybe a little bit triggering to be up there in such an exposed place.
Mm.
So I was just like, well, would it be helpful just to have some steps mapped out for you? Would you want to follow me? And she's like, I think actually I do. And I was like, okay, great, let's do it. So she followed me up, and she did amazing. She never acted scared. She never complained. She never was like, I can't do this. She was just like, okay, I think I've made my decision and I'm going to push on. Um, and she made it to the top. And yeah, so we got to celebrate as a team at the top and celebrate her accomplishments and her facing those challenges. Um, and I saw her confidence shift. I don't know if you
Mm-hmm.
saw this too, Tracy, but
Oh, yeah.
just like she wasn't, when I met up with her at the bottom of the bald, she was not sad about where she stopped. She was feeling confident about her choice. Um, she was in good spirits. And then we made it to the top, and it was like next level joy and confidence and
Mm-hmm.
excitement. And like, I did this. So yeah, I'm super grateful to walk with people who are in those positions, mainly because I've been in that position.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I'm definitely afraid of heights myself. And so I've overcome those challenges and will continue to overcome those challenges myself. So I was just super glad to watch her overcome and accomplish and feel super confident in the end.
Mm. Yeah, how all of that walked out is so significant because watching, she already has like a beautiful, strong stature. Like you would
Mhm,
look at her, she has a strong body and a really resilient mind. Like
for sure.
that's just what you pick up from her. But there was a moment where she needed to borrow your mindset, your courage, and walk in someone's footsteps to
Mhm,
say, look it. And she was more than physically
for
capable,
sure.
no doubt. But there was that moment in that place in her mind where she went, this is where I stop.
Mhm.
And she was able to see that from, you, and I believe Perry was there with her too.
Yes.
And
Yep.
she would say and has said that it was incredibly significant for her personal capacity in I believe it will be impactful as she walks out her life,
For sure.
which is just, I feel like we see a lot of that on those trails, but also a lot of what it means to hold back when you're the little bunny at the front of the pack, and the mental part of that to slow down,
Mhm.
to be a part of others' processes to move forward. And that can be just as challenging as
Yeah.
well.
And it was an honor to, bestow upon her her big girl panty pin
Yeah,
as a
she
result
was
of that
excited.
challenge. So
That's right. That's right. It was so cool.
Yeah.
All the intergenerational dynamics, all of the out of role, same playing field, we're just doing this together is very shaping for the life that we live in every day. Well put. Both of you have spent, I think, like sometimes months at a time. Well, Jane, I think you were 5 months.
Yeah.
Like in nature, in places like this. What are some unique opportunities for growth and healing that you have personally received in nature, or that you would say you've observed this? Now, we were only in the Adirondacks for what, like 5 days, but still being disconnected from normal life and being absorbed in this sanctuary of nature. There's a lot of medicinal healing parts of that.
Mm-hmm.
What do you ladies see personally and with maybe others that you've walked with?
Yeah, well, there's kind of a lot. It's a great question, and I feel like there's a lot of different ways you can answer that. I think for me, I've told some of the women this story while we were hiking on trail, actually. Growing up, I was very blessed to be in a Christian environment, godly parents, blessed with great teachers and coaches. And so I knew mentally in my mind, I knew right and wrong. I knew about God. I knew the stories. And then in high school, my church youth group offered an opportunity to go to the Rocky Mountains in Colorado. And being from the Southeast, that was my first opportunity to ever go west of the Mississippi. And I went from just the standpoint of, hey, I love adventure, I'm athletic, I love being outside. Why not? Let's go try this. My friends are going. And when I was in nature, when I got out there, saw the Rocky Mountains, and was on trail, God captured and romanced my heart. So I knew in nature, initially going into it, I had a mind that, okay, I know God in a headspace. But then the creation itself that I saw, He captured my heart in that. And so being out in nature, um, Rocky Mountains, Sierra Nevada, Adirondacks, in your backyard gardening, walking through the park, whatever that is for you. For me, it definitely speaks to me. And that's where I feel like I hear God the most, which obviously in and of itself is healing. I feel like it brings calm to the chaos. Um, I was talking to Rachel a little bit about this before, that, you know, I think a lot of us, and I'm really talking about myself, are just in our day to day lives, just go, 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 and do, and be a part of these things. And, we get in a car and we're traveling 60, 70 miles an hour through life. And the next thing you know, you're like, I don't even know what's happening. It's just everything's happening so fast. But then when you get outside, you get into nature and you're literally walking in a park on trail, you're going at 1 to 2 miles an hour. And how much more are we able to just slow down and take in everything that we're seeing, that we're hearing, that we're smelling, that we're touching, where our senses are all of a sudden come back to life because we're at a much slower pace. And for me, that is extremely healing in and of itself. So the calm to the chaos, the peace, the opportunity to be still, the opportunity to have a little quiet, it just really is healing. And it helps me personally, with more clarity in my life. It helps me to reflect. It helps me to pause. It helps me to have more, maybe a clear head at times. And it, helps also to be more creative, and also to be more, again, seeing myself in the Adirondacks or in nature. I realize I'm a very, very small, wow, I'm very, very small in this grand scheme of creation, but yet God sees me, God knows me, and he's right there with us, and he's with me. And it's like, wow, I'm amazed in that and of itself. Um, so yeah, I don't know if that fully answered the question, but that's just been some of my personal experiences. And again, just the connections I've had opportunity to have with other people, other women on trail, and then just again drawing that deeper connection to God. That those are always the things that stick out to me as the healing of power of nature.
Yeah, I want to highlight two things you said, and they were all really notable. One was the awe that we feel, the smallness. We're a part of something bigger, and it really does bring out awe. Like, this God has created these things. That is, that part of our worship really never gets old. And you also alluded to a question that was asked of a prominent theologian: what is the speed of God? And his answer was, he's the 2-mile-an-hour God. And I love that. You may not know that that was actually driven from a really fabulous theologian, but that was his answer. That is the speed
Okay.
of God. And so I think that's pretty cool. Well
Thank
done,
you for
Jane.
sharing.
That's
I
amazing.
did not know that. That's news. That was just my own personal experience, but I will take that. Thank you
Yeah,
so much for sharing.
take it. Yeah, as affirmed by the fathers of the faith and the theologians, Jane has just stepped into something she's known all along.
Yes.
Learn shared
uh,
experiences.
there you go. How
For
about you,
sure.
Rachel?
Yeah, I think nature is especially healing because it just removes us from our normal life where our life, like our world, revolves around us to a certain extent. It's my schedule, and how do I want to spend my time, and what's demanded of me today. It's all very much me, me, me. Um, and stepping into the wilderness, it strips that away to a certain extent, especially when you're going with a team, because it becomes about the team, not about just me. Um, and like Jane said, like you just feel small. It brings you into God's much bigger picture of what life is, and what His story is. So makes you feel very insignificant while also really being able to connect with Him individually. And I would say, for myself, um, a very long, involved story, but I'll give you the short version. I spent about 15 days in the Grand Canyon actually with Daria. And that was probably the most transformative experience I've ever had in the wilderness. Um, it rained 13 out of our 15 days. It was brutal. It was cold. We almost ran out of fuel because we were, trying to make hot drinks and stuff. And also on these canyon trips, we do not bring shelter, tents or anything. And so, we're trying to find caves to hide in, and um, we had a single tarp for 8 of us that we all slept under multiple nights, and it was uncomfortable, and we were all wet for a lot of days. Every time you'd think, okay, I can yard sale all my stuff and get everything dry before the next storm comes in, you'd do that and it would pour and everything would be re-soaked. Um, so we spent a lot of time in rain jackets and rain pants and layers because we were cold and wet. Um, and the Lord really spoke to me in that, like, I wasn't able to connect with this piece of what was going on in my internal world in normal life. But all of a sudden, there was so much clarity there, um, because I felt like I was experiencing physically what I was experiencing internally, spiritually, just feeling like very closed off and very like claustrophobic, and um, covered, and like I needed to be really small. Um, and on the day of our solo, I was in a spot with a little cliff overhang, and so I was nice and dry, but there was still a lot of rain happening around me. And I was so exhausted, spiritually and emotionally and physically exhausted. I finally just laid down in my sleeping bag and went to sleep. Just like, God, please just revive me, like refresh me, um, keep working in me, whatever you need to do. And I woke up, excuse me. I woke up, and before I even opened my eyes, it was like I was like my body was steaming. I was so warm. And I opened my eyes, I'm like, "What is that?" And it was sun directly into my little cave. Just a beam of sun. We hadn't seen sun in days. just like right on me. And I was dry and I was warm for the first time and I don't know how long. And I just felt like the Lord was telling me, like, you can open up and you can take up space in the world. And um, yeah, you don't have to live this like small, tight, claustrophobic life. And so, yeah, I just feel like nature, there's correlations there that bring some sort of physical experience to what's happening or emotionally or spiritually. So there's so much healing that can happen there. And that's a story for me, but I've heard tons of stories over the years of people experiencing very similar things where they feel like the Lord has spoken to them through the wilderness.
Mm. Thank you for sharing, Rachel.
Yeah,
I felt like I stepped into your picture there. The canyon is
yes,
radical,
it
right?
is.
Like even just imagining the smallness in the canyon at the bottom. I mean, you're so remote.
Mhm.
And that whole experience, that just really how you brought us into like what was happening physically was mirroring what was happening internally.
For sure.
And sometimes we need like these parables,
Mhm.
like an immersement in your own parable that the Holy Spirit is using for you to see more clearly so that you
Right.
can make changes and pivots. And how merciful to be met in such a practical way, being in your sleeping bag under a cave and steaming with the sun on you.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. It's
Yeah,
like a sanctuary. Like,
for
take us
sure.
to church. And really, if you think about so many places in scripture, the transformations happen in the wilderness,
Mhm.
in nature. Like the imagery is abounding. Like if
Yeah.
we just went through and just started like here, 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 there's just so many places where that uniquely becomes this nature bath of, God's love and his care for us.
Mhm.
Wow.
Mhm.
The two of you are gems. You are such a part of our community, in which I feel so honored and blessed to say. Um, I honor you for really just truly donating your expertise and your skill set to our community, giving us um, a portion of the generosity of your body and your heart, your expertise. And so I just want to say how grateful we are for that and how much we benefit, but also how you really just truly are a part of the sisterhood that is so rich. You've contributed in a way that's pretty extraordinary. So thank you. And thank you for sharing your heart with this podcast today.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I feel like what I gained from the sisterhood was so much more significant than what I gave. So I'm
Mm.
very grateful to have been a part.
All of these little mamas are waiting to see this new baby girl that you're bringing. So, any final words, Jane?
Oh, just thank you again, Tracy, Daria, and I want to give a shout out to the prayer, Ruth and the prayer team. How impactful you ladies
Yes.
were during the Adirondack Challenge, both back at Camp of the Woods and also feeling the strength. I personally could feel the strength from those prayers and just the care that you all gave, the little goodies left when we came back from hiking that were in the cabins was so fun to receive.
Thank you, Jane. And if you're looking to get involved, friends, you can challenge yourself, you can pray intentionally, you can give generously. And we're already beginning to drop what's next in 2026. Thailand, a mission trip to a project that has become so beloved to us, is already open on our website. Our first regional of the year is the Dallas Regional, Texas Regional, mind you. And so you can see all of those things and be looking for all of the other regional challenges for 2026, as well as a pretty big surprise for early 2027. You're invited. We appreciate your listening. And until next time, let's continue to do good by helping enslaved women and children do more than you ever thought physically possible. You just heard a lot about that, and do it together while connecting with women who have a heart for a hurting world. God bless.
Thanks for listening to the Freedom Challenge online podcast. If you liked what you heard, join the fight to set women and children on a pathway to freedom across the globe. We are a proud ministry of Operation Mobilization USA and encourage you to learn more at thefreedomchallenge.com and omusa.org for how you can get involved. Follow us on Facebook, on Instagram at the FCUSA, and don't forget to subscribe and leave a review to let us know what you think. We'll see you next time.